What's up guys, Rogue9 here. Easily the most unique and exciting gun that was announced as part of Operation White Noise for Rainbow Six Siege is the BOSG.12.2 double-barreled break-action shotgun. To be able to evaluate the gun properly, we need to factor in all of the hidden little stats like damage drop-off, shots to kill, fire rate and reload time. And then of course there are all of these rumors to investigate regarding the gun's penetration capabilities. Well, good news everyone, experiments have been conducted, numbers have been crunched, and I am happy to announce that I have some results for you, so let's do this. As always, the video is divided into different chapters, so check the comment section below for a pinned comment with relevant timestamps. The idea of using an over-under break-action shotgun in combat is quite unusual, certainly in modern times, but from a gameplay perspective, the fact that this gun fires 12-gauge slugs instead of buckshot is quite exciting. It essentially adds a completely new class of primary weapon to Rainbow Six Siege, and it has skill cannon written all over it. So to begin with, let's look at what the game itself tells us about the gun. The BOSG.12.2, which I believe stands for Brutally Overpowered Shotgun, is a top-break, over-under double-barreled shotgun, long-range and in tactical configuration. The listed damage is 125 points, the capacity is 2 shots, and I'm sure you will be glad to hear that the mobility rating for this gun is 50. Hashtag what even is mobility? At this early stage of the testing phase, we don't have a recoil pattern yet, but from my tests I can conclude that the recoil is considerable, but more on that later. The in-game model of the gun is, as with all weapons in Rainbow Six Siege, beautifully rendered, but unlike many of the other guns in the game, this does not appear to be directly modeled on a real-life counterpart. Sure, there are very similar modern break-action shotguns in real life, but there are a couple of details that don't seem quite right about the BOSG.12.2. Firstly, the thumb safety on the top of the weapon is pulled back to disengage, which is the opposite to how it would normally work in real life and seems a little counterintuitive to me. But what really gives away the fact that this gun has been put together out of parts from various different real-world guns is that it also features a push-button safety at the front of the trigger guard. I've never seen or even heard of anything like this before, and quite honestly, I'm not even sure how it would work mechanically. Do you have to operate both of the manual safeties separately in order to shoot, or are they somehow mechanically linked? I have no clue how this is supposed to work, and I suspect that the trigger assembly has simply been modeled on a different type of shotgun. But enough nitpicking on visual details, let's finally get into the cold hard stats and abilities that make this gun so different from everything else we've seen up till now. But before we move on, I want to take a quick moment to thank Swagbucks for sponsoring this video. Swagbucks is a website that allows you to earn cash and gift cards through actions such as taking surveys, playing games, watching videos, searching the web, or, my favorite method during this time of the year, shopping online. The website has a special on right now. If you use the link at the top of the video description below, you can get a $5 bonus for taking your first survey. So go ahead and click the link below to start earning yourself some extra cash and gift cards. Back to the BOSG.12.2, and a quick disclaimer, all of my tests have been conducted on the Rainbow Six Siege technical test server, so all of the stats, findings and conclusions in this video are liable to change before final release. As a two-shot weapon, it is not surprising that the Boss Gun 12 Deuce dishes out some serious pain, and its 125 points of base damage give it enough oomph to kill a level 1 operator outright in one shot while downing level 2 and even level 3 ops also in a single shot. I think the most comparable gun to the Bravo Oscar Sierra Golf 12.2 is Glaz's OTS-03, so I'm going to put its stats up for comparison. Damage drop-off for the BOSG starts after 10 meters, twice the range of the OTS, and bottoms out at 19 meters, and even at that range, the gun will still down all 3 operator types in a maximum of 2 shots. And even with Rook armor in play, 2 shots is all you need with the BOSG, whereas the OTS starts to flag a little. Even in the worst case realistic scenario, Rook armor plus leg shots, we're still talking up to 3 shots max for the BOSG. Yes, I know technically there can be dock overhealing, but it only lasts a few seconds, and how many times is that actually going to happen? Normally 3 shots to kill would be great, but we do have to keep in mind that with the BOSG it will require a lengthy reload or gun switch in between. but at a minimum range of 15 meters plus, you should usually be able to quickly duck into cover most of the time. And of course, 3 shots only ever come into play if you hit your opponent's legs. While the gun is quite capable of penetrating wall after wall, the damage reduction is just the same as for any other gun. A single double-layered wall will already reduce your damage by around 50%, and even if it's just one layer, you're still getting a 30% nerf. So if you do hit your enemy through a wall, don't expect any miracles. You're not likely to get a single shot kill unless you hit the head. So the bottom line here is that as long as you shoot directly at your enemy, you won't usually need more than 2 shots. But if you do need to reload, how long will it take? I believe that the intended reload time for the gun is 3 seconds, but in the current state of the TTS, there are a couple of issues that actually allow you to fire the weapon again after a much shorter time period. If you want, you can interrupt the reload after only 1.3 seconds to immediately fire off a single shell, and even 2 shells can be reloaded in as little as around 1.8 seconds, as long as you time your trigger pull right. I've reached out to Ubisoft with these findings, and they have reassured me that this is a known issue and already being worked on, so when the gun is released in the update on December 5th, this quick fire glitch will no longer be possible. When testing the maximum fire rate of the gun, I consistently managed to get off both shots in 7 frames or around 117 milliseconds, which translates into 512.8 rounds per minute. Given the limitations of my testing method here, I would conclude that the fire rate of the gun is most likely a nice round 500 RPM, but I think it will be all but impossible to effectively take advantage of this fire rate due to the considerable recoil of the gun. Even at very short distances, such as in the images on screen, the recoil with the angled grip attached was enough to send the second shot clean over the head of the imaginary enemy I was engaging. With the vertical grip attached, recoil improves somewhat, but it is still incredibly hard to manage if you're trying to shoot the boss as fast as it will go. The conclusion is that in almost all circumstances, you will need to take a quick moment to reacquire your target before firing off your second shot, meaning that the fire rate is much higher than you will ever be able to take advantage of unless you're literally within sexual harassment range. So that's the basic functionality out of the way, but this nifty little boomstick has a few more tricks up its sleeve. I've already compared it to Glaz's rifle, and the parallels between the two guns extend beyond delivering a lot of bang for your buck. Just like the OTS-03, the BOSG can be used to open hatches. It will usually take 3 shots to open a hatch, but depending on the angle and distance of my test breaches, I sometimes needed a couple of shots extra. The windows on the presidential plane are famously resistant to all firearms except for shots from Glaz's rifle, but as Core Ross recently highlighted, the BOSG also brings a little something extra to the table here. But unlike the OTS, which will straight up murder you through the window if you don't keep your head down, the BOSG will create a hole in the window without immediately causing any damage to an enemy on the other side. This still allows you to put holes into the windows that can then be used to shoot through either with your BOSG itself or with your secondary machine pistol, but this is a tactic that requires caution. Firstly, of course, your enemies will be able to shoot straight back at you through the very same hole, and if you think that you will now become the god of all spawn peekers while playing as Vigil on the presidential plane, think again. Even a mediocre Glaz player like me will make you reconsider your strat within a single round. If you're playing as Vigil, there is some good news, because Blackbeard's shield can be destroyed by a single slug at any range, but if you're playing as Dokkaebi and come up against Lord Chachanka, his shield will be able to withstand 4 shots even at close range. If you were hoping that the BOSG would be able to penetrate the armored viewport on shield operators, you will be disappointed. This is not possible. Breaching walls is fairly easy with this new shotgun. Destroying one side of a wall takes 2 shots for plasterboard and 4 shots for wood, but unlike other shotguns firing buckshot, you will not be able to create vaultable holes. And finally, over to Castle's barricades, and here once again the BOSG is kind of useful, but nowhere near as good as the OTS. While Glaz can shoot through the reinforced barricades as if they were butter, the new shotgun struggles quite significantly. You can throw a silly amount of slugs at the barrier and only do surface damage without ever coming close to destroying the thing. Quite definitely not a recommended tactic, since it will only be a matter of time before some sweaty Jaeger main will dash around behind you and take you out. If, on the other hand, you shoot at the same spot on the barrier, 3 shots on top of each other will eventually allow you to shoot through. As an attacker, this probably isn't all that useful. You can of course start putting holes into the barrier from a distance behind cover just to distract your opponents and maybe even land a lucky shot. The quickest way to create a hole is to hit the barrier once, thereby stripping the surface layer off of both sides, and then immediately follow it up with 2 quick shots to the weakened area. One shot breaks the middle layer, the second one goes straight through, wrecking anyone on the other side if you're super lucky. If you're playing on defense, on the other hand, the ability to create peek holes in castle barriers could actually be pretty useful. Having a bunch of castle barricades set up on external windows with tiny, almost invisible peek holes shot into them during the prep phase could be a spawn peeker's wet dream. Each barricade could then be manned by a defender who would be almost impossible to spot and virtually untouchable unless the attackers bring glass. This technique could even be used within target buildings to create bulletproof cover with mini firing slots for defenders to shoot out from. If this feature makes it into the main game, it could make the Castle Vigil combo a massively powerful asset to a defending team. So there you have it, the BOSG.12.2 is not only a skill cannon that can kill virtually anyone at any distance in 2 shots, but the ability to puncture bulletproof surfaces and open hatches can make this gun a great tool in the right hands. And while that smacks of being overpowered, the last 3 days on the TTS have made it abundantly clear to me that this gun is relatively well balanced as a high-risk, high-reward weapon, and if you're not 100% sure on your snap targeting, this gun may well not end up being your best friend. Miss your first shot and you will rarely survive long enough to get off a decently aimed second. Miss your second shot and you might as well kiss your ass goodbye right then and there. This shotgun fits the definition of a skill cannon perfectly, and without significantly above average targeting skills, you may well find yourself struggling with this weapon. But of course, that is just my opinion. Have you had a chance to try the BOSG.12.2 out on the TTS? What are your thoughts on it? Leave your comments below, and while you're there, leave a like if you liked the video or dislike if not. And before you go, I've had several inquiries by fans asking how they can support the channel, and if you speak a language in addition to English, there is a really quick and helpful thing that you could do that would be amazing to help new viewers find the channel. At the bottom right-hand corner below the video, you can find 3 dots, and in that menu, you can add translations for the title and description of my videos. It's a 5-minute job, and if you tick the box that allows you to be credited, your name will automatically appear in the description of that video, unless of course you would prefer to stay anonymous. If you're feeling particularly ambitious, you can even do what Pogo Gaming did and contribute a translation to the subtitles of the video. Every little helps, and I'm so grateful to those of you who have already contributed and all of those who have reached out to offer support. And with that guys, thank you for watching. I really couldn't be doing this without you, and as always, I hope you enjoyed the video and I will see you in the next episode.